Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Evan Here's Culture campaign. Today we're going to be talking about Panda Bear's 2011 album, Tomboy. Now, who is Panda Bear, you ask?
He's one of these guys. Which one? The world may never know.
So, it's the Evan Here's Culture campaign, and like I said, we're talking about Panda Bear's 2011 album, Tomboy. Now, despite my limited knowledge of music, which is only recently building, I've known about Panda Bear as a concept, the musician, not the animal, for quite a long time. And the reason is because Panda Bear appeared on a pretty solid track off of Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, which I heard around the time it came out, which was Doing It Right. And that's a pretty iconic track. I'm sure you've heard it before. He's the vocalist on that, and I don't know, maybe had some input on the songwriting process. But I'd heard about him back then. It wasn't until years later that I thought, hey, I should actually look up who some of these people on Random Access Memories are. And I looked up Panda Bear, and I saw that he was a member of Animal Collective, which I'd heard that name before. And so when I saw Panda Bear, I saw Animal Collective, I thought, oh, that's cool. That's a fun little gimmick there. All the members of Animal Collective, they've got animal names. Then was disappointed when I, of course, looked at the Animal Collective page and saw that they all have stupid names like AV Tear and Geologist and Deacon. Not animal based in the slightest. But names aside, I fucking love Animal Collective. Well, sort of. I like wide swaths of Animal Collective, as is probably evident from the amount of footage I've used from it over the course of the show. Last year, I went to the Pitchfork Music Festival in Chicago, and one of the headliners on the day I was there was Animal Collective. And I hadn't really heard any Animal Collective before I bought the tickets, but I thought, well, I bought these tickets, I gotta listen to some Animal Collective. And so I looked and I found what people considered their best albums, and I listened to them all, and sure enough, man, some of those tracks off Merriweather Post Pavilion and Feels and Strawberry Jam and Sunk Talk, some of these were just incredible. I loved them. You know, My Girls, Brothers Sport, Peace Bone, Forever Green, Fireworks, The Purple Bottle, Grass, Banshee Beat to some extent. All those songs were just wonderful. I fell in love with Animal Collective. They were my most played artists of last year, 2021, by a wide margin. Quite a few minutes there. And so coming into this album, knowing that Panda Bear was a part of Animal Collective, and knowing that I liked a lot of Animal Collective, I was definitely excited to listen to this one. Now, I had some reservations or a few trepidations that stopped my excitement from being from the roof, which is that, well, there's a lot of Animal Collective I like. There's also a fair amount that I don't. I mean, even when I went to go see them, I listened to all the albums people recommended, and of course, they played all the stuff that people didn't recommend. So it wasn't as fun as I would have hoped. But normally I like Animal Collective when they've got more of a structured, hooky approach to their songwriting. Even if the songs have unconventional structures, something that has more a clear drive to it, something like The Purple Bottle, works better for me than when they're in jam band mode, kind of like they are on their album that came out this year, which I didn't love. So I knew that this album could fall more in line with that, and also, knowing that it was a solo project, I knew it could sound nothing like Animal Collective, because why would Panda Bear want to be making the same music he makes with the Collective? But nevertheless, I was excited going in. And the very first track on this album, You Can Count on Me, really does lead in to the album in an exciting way. You get eager to hear the whole thing. It establishes a lot of the hallmarks of the album right away. You've got a lot of these self-harmonies with Panda Bear layering his voice over each other. You've got some of these watery bass sounds in the production of it. You've got the sort of song structure that's more hymn-like, almost choral in a way, based in repetition as opposed to a verse-chorus for a lot of the bits, based on those loops. And you just have, no, you can count on me. And I was like, great, we've got a nice smooth lead in. We're gonna have fun with this thing. And then I just didn't have that fun that I wanted to have. We kind of go through the next stretch of the album, and things, Tomboy, the title track, second track, who cares? Third track, Slow Motion, I do really like a lot. It has these cool ray gun almost sounding percussive noises right at the beginning and throughout the track that kind of establish the backbone of it that are really exciting, and it's got some alright lyrics on there, you know. So they say practice make it perfect, so they say you can't teach an old dog. And that definitely worked for me. Up top, we've got Surfer's Hymn, we've got Last Night at the Jetty, that are alright, that are all interesting, but kind of once that patch is over, once we hit Drone, I just get bored with this album. I don't find it exciting or engaging in any way. Those hallmarks that I mentioned, that watery production, those harmonies, they get played out and boring rather quickly, I found. And I know those things, the things that I dislike about this album, are things that the people who like it would staunchly defend. The fact that it's not engaging and it's sort of more groove-based is something that I'm sure a lot of people really enjoy. And I can understand the thought behind that because, you know, you put it on in the background and you've got this nice music to groove out to, and I could get that, but yet parts of the production and the way those harmonies stack are too abrasive, in my opinion, to really just put on in the background, but yet not captivating enough to leave on in the foreground. Then you have that watery milieu that hangs over the whole thing. And I've been critical of those kind of watery sounds before, and a lot of the ambient music I've listened to. It works all right on this album, and it kind of ties into a lot of the imagery that this album has. You look at any critic and they'll tell you this album has a Beach Boys vibe to it. And basically it seems like critics will say that if your album has harmonies and at least one reference to a surfboard, suddenly it's Beach Boys inspired. Although with this one, I guess they're right. If you love kind of a watery sound, then you'll love this, but the watery sounds bury the vocals, which is once again, that's the point, that's the intention. It's not a fault in the mixing, it's just something I don't like because the vocals are submerged under those watery noises, and it's like, I want to hear the lyrics. You know, you're an interesting writer, you're an interesting lyricist. And once again, the people who will defend this album will say, oh, it's not about the words in the lyrics, it's about the sounds of the lyrics and the texture they make. And it's like, once again, that texture doesn't captivate me. It doesn't engage me. I don't really have much more to say about the album. I don't think it's a bad album. I don't harbor any hatred for it or anything. It's just not something that I really enjoyed or really plan on listening to again anytime soon. And it has some highlights. Like I said, you can count on me, Slow Motion, these work. I might hear those again. But I just don't want to put myself through the experience. It doesn't captivate me in the same way that some of the Animal Collective stuff I've heard does. I don't know how it ranks in Panda Bear's solo discography. I know Person Pitch is the album that people frequently cite as being his masterpiece, you know, the pioneer of chill wave, whatever chill wave is. I don't really know what that micro genre represents. And then I did listen to a bit of his other album from the 2010s, or his other big album, which is Panda Bear Meets the Grim Reaper. And I got about halfway through that before I just found, oh, this is more of the same. And I don't like it. Doesn't work for me. Personal preference entirely there. That's how I feel. No disrespect to Panda Bear. No disrespect to Noah Lennox. You know, we always have my girls. So that is my take on Panda Bear and Tomboy. That take might evolve if I get around to listening to Person Pitch at some point, which is I likely will. But as for now, you know, can't recommend it unless you know that that is the kind of thing you like already. But I do have some exciting news.
I figured out which one Panda Bear is. He's this guy.